Welcome in. RFK Refugees Podcast. Hopefully everything's working on my end. I don't think anything's working on our end. How do I? This is why we need John. This is why John is.
I see you now.
There we go. All right. I just had to flip it
working.
back. All right, we got here. How y'all doing today? Spirit just wrapped off a thrilling 2-1 victory. John is currently broadcasting live from Audi Field in the press.
This is a first for us. We've never done this.
This is indeed a first for us. John, how you doing, my friend? How are things? How was it? How was it, man?
It was good. It was very cold. They had the windows open. It was a very stressful game. If you were following along on threads, I think the big takeaway is Spirit fans know ball. They were engaged the entire match, and they knew they do ball more than East United crowds. I would say I was very, very impressed. But we can sort of just walk through their victory here. We can start sort of with the lineups. I think that's we called that. That's the best part about this. You and I called the fact that the only change would likely be Essie Morgan for Boutel, and that's what happened. It was an interesting first half. I feel like if you were, they were unable to really do much. The stat I kept bringing up the entire time was the lack of completed crosses. Through 75 minutes, they had completed one cross, which was 7% of their crosses, which normally wouldn't be a problem, except where they were exclusively trying to run the ball down the lanes. So those are somewhat important things to do when you're running that way. But I think that obviously the game changed as it went along. The first half was pretty ugly. There was just a lack of sharpness by the Spirit. There was a few moments the entire time, which we said in the preview. Oshawa is the handful of handfuls. Every time she took the ball, every time it was near her, you could feel the air get sucked out of the stadium. They knew that she was the threat, and her and Kundanji were both just very challenging to try to do anything with. They were a handful.
Well, it seemed to me in the first half, I believe the stat that was used in the first half was 0.33 or 0.32 for like either team as far as like expected goal metrics. That's what they were talking about on the broadcast, from what I was able to see. So
just a lack of getting. They had enough of the ball. They were finding Trinity over the top. They were finding McKenna Morris frequently. McKenna Morris had probably one of her roughest runs as a starter for the Spirit, and just was unable to. Just a number of times where the ball just wasn't able to get close. It would dribble out of touch. She would fail to move. Find the open player. So yeah, it was not the most fruitful first half, but they had their opportunities. I think Bay was much more interested in soaking up pressure in the first half.
Yeah, they seem more interested in getting this one, either nicking a goal towards the end, which they did in the 82nd minute, or taking this all the way to PKs and trying their luck there. Yeah, I do feel like, again, I know Jonathan Giraldes is limited by the lineup he has, but I do kind of look at some of the choices that were made, and it feels like it felt very conservative, and maybe you have a difference of opinion on that front, but it just seems to me like he's making very conservative type decisions when maybe a little bit of against a team that is still has Shala is very good. But it seemed like once the Bay broke through and then the Spirit were like, okay, now we got to push forward a little bit. That's when you saw the opportunities. That's when you saw the chances start to develop. That's when you saw Lacey Santos get more into the game. I thought she was kind of rough in the early part of the second half. She came on, I think at halftime, it looks like 46th minute. But even she didn't really impact the game until the Spirit started to play a little bit more on the front foot. Anything else, I guess, from that first half that you saw? Anything else from the early second half that really stood out?
I don't know how conservative I would call the approach, other than saying playing Courtney Brown and Heather Steinbrook instead of starting Santos from the start. I think maybe in the first 10 minutes Lacey had some struggles, but I think she was one of the best players in the half. Completely changed the way the game was going. Like I said before, the strategy appeared to be push the ball along the wing, either from Kingsbury long ball or from one of the center backs, and they were unable to do much with it. Once they put Santos in for Courtney Brown, they were able to do a lot more with the ball on the ground through the middle, and that was sort of the changing point. Obviously, the goal changed a lot of things too. I think what I said at the end of the first half was like, this game extremely needs a goal. It's going to turn into an entirely different game once the goal gets scored, and it did. I think that's kind of what happened.
Yeah, let's talk about the goal. I think the first goal the Spirit gave up, kind of a. I feel like it's almost like a common situation we see when the Spirit do give up goals, where it's sort of it's a ball over the top. The defenders kind of lose track of the runners, including lose track of Oshala, who's the one player you should keep track of. Esme Morgan, I think, doesn't do a good enough job maybe anticipating where the ball's going to go, and just kind of stands there in the middle of the box, and Oshala's there to finish it. I don't know if there's. It just felt like kind of like a defensive breakdown after I feel they did a really really good job of of really minimizing really any opportunities the Bay FC had. I mean, they really did not get much in this game apart from that really one moment where they got the goal. Anything else in that breakdown that you saw that from the press box or?
Just a failure to police the 6-yard box. I think the first
Mhm.
ball going across the line is fine, and then it's a matter of one of the center backs has to step up and put it over the end line for a corner or something, and they don't. Uh, and like you said, I think we have seen that a few times this year when they do score. That's a common function of the way it goes. She was going to score the game. I think that it was somewhat inevitable. She was she was just so dangerous. I've seen her now play twice in person, and she's tough. And this was an opportunity. She had actually better chances, I think, throughout the game. But that was the one where probably the easiest to convert. She was able to.
Yeah.
Wiesner getting in right before that too. I think I want to talk about sort of the subs. They all of them were impactful, except
Hmm.
well, except for one. I think one was not impactful, but almost all of them were very impactful. And I think Jonah, particularly after that goal, empties his bench and brings on Paige, who was a big factor. I think. Like Brett, I think you called it out in the Discord.
Yeah, she I thought she just had an excellent. I think it was an excellent track back. That was more. We'll get to the extra time period. But I mean, I agree with you. I think most of the players who came off the bench, really did sort of make a difference in this game. And really brought an extra avenue. The pace quickened up. The Spirit finally started getting into the attack. They started creating chances. I think they could have had if extra time was extended about maybe 5 more minutes at the end of that second half. I think they would have found that second goal. They were pushing the game that much. They were creating chances. Hirschfeld nearly takes one off the ball, takes one off the post. But before we get to that, I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's talk
Yes.
about the goal. Tara McKeown, some really nicely worked play. We had seen the Spirit generate some chances. Tara McKeown gets a ball outside the box. The broadcaster talked about, as a defender, do you want moments where you want to get to the attack? And she said, apparently had a smile and said, always. I always want to look to get the attack. And she's a former forward and takes a really really nice low shot. And I love those types of moments because I feel like there are certain players that just think, oh, I have to rip it. I have to rip it hard. And she just places it. It's almost just a low place. It's hit with pace. It's not like a small, but it's hit with pace, but it's low to the ground. That's always going to be more difficult for the keeper to get down and try to stop it. And it turns out into the tying goal. And rescues what could have been a little bit of a surprise exit for the Spirit.
Not only did she, I mean, the goal was fantastic.
Mhm.
Posted videos on our Instagram threads of what the crowd was like after she scored. It was a great, confident take. It was, like you said, well struck and not, so cool for the moment, so calm for what was a huge pressure situation where, it was the backs against the wall with very limited time. After she does that, after she scores and equalizes, she makes like 4 or 5 more defensive plays that stop attacks. She was my player of the match, and so was she for Foot Mob. I just want to quickly, I just want to quickly read off some of her stats because this is like my favorite stat page I've ever seen in a game. She was 90 for 113 on through 120 minutes, up 80%, 134 touches, uh, 17 passes into the final third, 6 for 18 on long balls, 5 for 6 tackles, 9 clearances, 2 interceptions, 6 recoveries, 7 for 7 on ground duels, 2 for 2 on aerial duels. That is bananas for a defender. This was a masterclass again for a player that is not a born defender, not even starting a professional as a defender, not playing through college, mostly as a defender. Played every single minute on the field for the Spirit this year. Just phenomenal. When the team needed it most, this was a elite performance.
Yeah, 18 defensive actions. I mean, she was you said it right. She was phenomenal in this game. All game, really, just keeping Oshala, keeping the back line. It felt like every time Bay FC got an attack or there was momentum, she was there to kind of snuff it out. It's really only the one moment we talked about earlier with the goal that really anything really broke down for this team defensively. What was your perspective on Esme Morgan? Is it? It feels like it's been Butel. McKeown's been the locked in starter, which is wild to think about. I don't think you would have called that, but it's been sort of a rotation between Esme Morgan and Anik Patel. Where, I guess, after this performance, where do we land? Is Esme Morgan the locked in starter? Or
Yep, you'll see her. You'll see her in the next game. She was very composed in defense.
mm-hmm.
She was. I think one of the things that was talked about when she was signed is her ability to pass the ball to the back. Did it? She was 4 for 11 for long balls, not great, but 10 passes in the final third. Just winning her ground duels is impressive. I thought she was a great partner for McKeown.
72 for 84 overall, so an 86% pass percentage. I don't see the I'm not seeing the same stat about it says passes 10 passes into the final third. So she was certainly trying to look for that. Probably some of that came from the long ball. But I would agree at this point. I think it's Esme Morgan, it's Big Keown, in that center. It's just wild to think about. Obviously the Spirit sort of get off that front foot and, entering extra time games. I always get nervous when you've dominated the chances in the second half. You don't find that second goal. We have to talk about Hirschfeld nearly took the roof off the whole building. Final seconds of the second half, just rips a shot off the post. I thought again she had another sort of solid Hal Hirschfeld type performance.
It picked up. I think it certainly ramped up throughout the game. I thought in the beginning she was not getting her stamp on the ball. She was not linking play very well. But I think she was also being over. She was being passed over. They were sort of bypassing that midfield line to try to work up the wing. So I think that as the game changed, as Lacey Santos changed the focus of the attack to more on the ground in the middle of the field, yes, she did.
Yeah.
She also got a yellow card in the 46th minute, which worried me greatly. I thought there were 2 or 3 occasions early in the second half after they picked up the yellow card where I saw her pull up, and then after that she started to play her normal game. I was like, I don't think she's going to finish this match. I don't think she's going 90, and I was wrong. I'm glad.
The play-by-play commentator was going off on that challenge, and then you see the replay, and it's like, oh, wasn't that bad. It's a yellow, but not a excessive force. They were literally quoting the laws of the game, which made me happy. That hey, instead of pulling rules out of your butt, maybe you actually read the actual laws of the game, which you can get for free on your phone, by the way. This is a call out for all, I think for all play-by-play people. Read those laws, learn what they are, take a referee course, do it. They seem well prepared. So I appreciated that, even though I was rolling my eyes a little bit at, how he thought the challenge was so bad, and then it really wasn't that bad. But yeah, Hallersfeld nearly takes above the roof. Spirit come out, I thought, pretty much just picked up right where they left off, and that's what you want to see. Not to get frustrated. You thought maybe you had an opportunity that was just a little bit longer to, end this game in regular time and not have to go to the extra time. But credit to them, they came right up on the front foot and were rewarded with a fortunate goal, an own goal from Didasco.
Yep.
Yeah. So crossover into the box. I think again, I forget who plays the cross exactly. I have to go back and look. I think Solano actually wins the sort of the first header, and then it kind of falls awkwardly for Didasco, and she kind of unfortunately just puts it past her own keeper.
Listen, if she wasn't there, Santos was going to score it anyway. She celebrated as though she had. So much she convinced FootMob that she had scored because I got the notification that it was her goal. So yeah, good for her. You always got to celebrate if you're near the ball. But I think it was a for as many uncompleted or inaccurate crosses they had, this was one of the. If you make good service, if you put the ball in a dangerous place, things will happen. They were finding what I found that they were doing is they were working the ball down the end line and they were just sprinting towards the end line and just trying to float the ball over. That was why there were so many inaccurate crosses. They were not like picking out a spot. They were not putting the ball in a dangerous spot. They're just floating, and it wasn't working. So I'm
Yeah.
glad that they got a little bit of a reward there for actually whipping the ball right where it's supposed to be.
Yeah, you have Abby Dahlkemper in there. She's obviously going to win. I was curious what her aerial wins were.
One
If I
for
could,
one.
1 for 1. Okay, maybe it was the other one. I was just curious. Clearances,
One heavy
tackle.
clearance.
Yeah.
She was kind of a non-factor compared with our center backs who were like.
Yeah. Let's see. 4 high claims for the goalkeeper. So the goalkeeper might have been the one that was taking most of that action. But otherwise, I think this was a team. I had again. I think we try to watch the NWSL. We've got Portland and Gotham FC on right now. The winner, the Spirit will host the winner of this game coming up, which is going on. It's still 0-0 right now. We're in the 30th minute, so that's what we got right now. So,
as you'll hear this, that will be different, and we'll know by the time this comes out, you will know who Spirit play next week.
You can look at this as well. This is the 7th seed. You should have maybe beaten the 7th seed. Look at the Pride. Absolutely laid waste to the Chicago Red Stars. But this is also the playoffs, and weird stuff can happen. And I think this was a Bay FC team that was on a run. They were certainly a lot of some predictors. Were saying the Spirit were going to get undone by this team. That there were just too many injuries, and I think this team, this was a good performance because I think they deserved to win. They deserved to get the victory. I think they were vastly the better side on both sides of the ball, created the most chances. I'll be curious to see what the XG looks like, or the XG charts and all that stuff that comes in. So I think it's been good to see. I think Uraldez has done an excellent job at sort of managing what an injury crisis that might have sunk a lot of other teams, and has been able to sort of keep this team, moving forward. I think Lacey Santos now she's gone 75 minutes, so have to think now she's going to get the start next week. She maybe sticks in for either Brown or Stainbrook, probably Brown. I'm going to go ahead and make a guess there. I think Stainbrook kind of helps out a little bit more of Hal Hirschfeld in the midfield. So, but I think we're going to be looking at possibly her entering the game. I think that's going to be big. Going to be a much tougher opponent, regardless of whether it's Gotham FC or the Thorns. Anything else we want to drop, or do we want to? Which team would you rather play? Would you rather have Gotham, or would you rather have Portland in this upcoming game?
That's a really tough one. These are like two fantastic teams. I think Gotham is the more dangerous team for the championship than Portland is. Portland can't be underestimated just historically. I guess the Thorns at home. I'm trying to remember can you look real quick when we played the Thorns at home? Sophia Smith hurt her knee. She came off. I'm trying to remember what the result was. Was it a draw?
I can't. I will have to go look. Friday will be Friday, November 15th. This is what NWSL has as the game time for that.
Oh, that's horrible. What?
That's what it says.
That's awful.
It says Friday, so that's what we got right now. So I don't know.
Okay, they beat
Amazon. It won't be on Amazon though, because Amazon did. I watched they had the Orlando Chicago game, and they did very much kind of like the sort of like, thank you guys so much for watching us, the end of the season type of thing.
The last time the Spirit played the Thorns, they beat them in the 96th minute. Santos scored in stoppage time 2-1. So hey. I think I prefer Portland if you're going to make me pick one.
I would say too. I think Portland's probably the softer underbelly. It'll be, the big story heading into Gotham this year was how stacked they were going to be. So they're still a very talented team.
Yep.
But it should be a fun moment. I'm anticipating probably another sellout. I don't see why there wouldn't be. We'll see if the Friday time period maybe plays a little bit of a role in that. But
I know it'll be tougher for me. So Gotham. So they played Gotham 3 times, including the Liga MX Cup this season. They beat them twice in the league, and they lost to them in the game in which they played all of their subs and didn't take it as a real game.
Right. So massive grain of salt into the other game, and
large boulder of salt. And Portland, they've won 1 and lost 1. I think in In the away game, they lost 2-1.
Either way, you're hosting, a chance at the final. And, this team is not at full strength. I mean, we know that that's been the story all along, but I think just making that final, they will probably face Orlando, though, hey, you never know. You never know what can happen. They will play the winner. If they advance, they would play the winner of the KC Current or Orlando. Pick your poison as to who you would want in that final, whether you want Orlando, who's the best team, or KC Current, where the game will be played. It will be at the it'll be at the stadium. So pick your poison there.
Get to the final. That's what matters. Make that happen. And then who cares how it goes? I want to call out just a couple more performances before we wrap. Trinity Rodman was I don't think her best tonight. I think that there was seemed to be pressing when she did take the shots. She was not. She really couldn't keep them on frame. There was a couple opportunities where it might have been better to pass it than it was to shoot it, and she got maybe made the wrong choices a couple times. She was also dogged defensively. So I think it was even more important to me how she played defensively than how she was in the attack, because she stopped a number of attacks. Her and Kundanaji were scrapping the entire match. I think they might have. I think she drew the yellow card. I couldn't tell what happened. It looked kind of like she got just ragdolled down.
Yeah.
Maybe was it a shoulder or a head contact? I couldn't tell.
It was a shoulder. I felt like to me she was grabbing her back a little bit. Like maybe she was feeling a little bit of that. I mean, she carried on in the game. So I think, regardless of whatever situation that is there. But yeah, it was a hard challenge. I think worthy of a worthy yellow card type challenge on Trinity Rodman there. I think she struggled. I think she's also, she's marked, and it's going to be tough. I think her best effort is sort of crashing in from that right side. And if she doesn't have the opportunity, she's going to try to play the cross. You talked about the number of sort of wayward and just inability to cross. That also is a testament to, I think, how Bay FC played this game and that how compact they were and how difficult they were to break down. And where you needed somebody like Lacey Santos, who suddenly becomes another option. I thought once Santos came into the game, it opened up more room, where suddenly it wasn't just like, we're just going to compress Rodman. That's all we're going to do. Now we have to contend with Lacey Santos and that whole situation. So,
and I don't want to end on a bad note, but I will, because we're out of players to talk about. But Lena Solano had a very, very rough cameo appearance. Yeah. I think it's something to care about, because right now she's the backup number 9. Ashley Hatch just went about 100 and how many minutes did she go?
120. Well, 100.
I think she's
119.
119. Yeah, she was
cramping
up. She started cramping up in the 91st minute and gutted through the entire injury time. I think it's notable that is the backup number 9. So there's no one else. I mean, obviously you could put Trinity in that spot in a pinch, but they probably won't. They probably don't want to do that. And she had a number of good chances to score or even put the ball in frame, and she was unable to do so. She played a square ball that was pretty dangerous and started the counterattack. So she's going to want to have. She's had good games this season. She's scored goals this season. She's looked like she's belonged at times this season. But this was the biggest match she's ever played in. I don't know. Maybe in college she's had a bigger match, but I think probably not. This is probably the biggest one, and she did not look like she was ready to go and was not up to speed when she came in. So that's something to watch for games going forward if Ashley Hatch is either injured or has to come out.
Is there any update on Sarah that you heard or anything that you were there? Is it just, is she done? Or is she still working back?
She's not making the bench. I don't know. I think it's her back. Backs are tricky. I don't know. Maybe it gets brought up in the post-game conference. I'm staying up here talking to you and not doing that. The sole purpose, like if the game had gone a different way, I was going to have to ask the coach about the 7% completed crosses and the game plan to play up the goal. So I'm glad that didn't happen, and I'm also glad that I'm up here. But I think Friday night is it's not really a tough turnaround. I want to know who they're going to play. I think that they managed to get through this game physically unscathed, and I like their chances. They're home, and if they could, I don't know. I think another sellout crowd with standing room only is going to be tough on a 6-day turnaround on a Friday. But if they're able to get it somewhat close to what this was, they're going to have a huge.
Oh, it was loud.
It was so loud.
Yeah, you could hear it on TV too. Like you could hear the crackling. It's loud when the audio itself is crackling. And that was certainly evident in this game. Should be fun. I think this might count as our Monday show
It
because
does.
because
I
DC.
apologize. I apologize ahead of time for the AirPods audio quality in the press room. We do our best here.
We do a lot. Hey, we get content out early. You know, it's the old adage. It's we're getting it fast and maybe not necessarily good on the audio quality.
We usually get beat as a punch on Spirit stuff, but not this time. Ted's gonna edit this and post it, and we're gonna be first. That's
Yes, we're going to be first to get out there. All right, folks, that's going to do it. Again, John live from Audi Field, and maybe we'll see. Maybe we'll do another post game, and then maybe maybe you guys will donate enough money to Patreon and we get to fly out to Kansas City. Who knows?
There you go.
Who knows? Gotta be a midget. All right, guys, that's going to do it. Thank you guys so much for listening. We'll catch you guys next week. Vamos.
Vamos.